On the theme of democracy, you've approached democracy from a different point of view, Helen, from the point of view of the importance of voice and voice to the voiceless. So, Helen, you have been an incredible campaigner for the rights of those imprisoned for their religious faith in Eritrea, and you always represent yourself through voice, and we'll find out why the emphasis on voice in a minute, and especially towards the end of the session today. You're holding on to the importance of voice as a mechanism of resistance led to your imprisonment. Can you tell us about what happened? Why were you imprisoned? Because you're imprisoned for 2 years.
First of all, I want to say thank you to God for brought me from the darkness to His light. Yeah. Can I repeat? Yes. Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you to God for brought me from darkness to His light. The reason I've been in prison because of my faith. Normally, I'm preaching the gospel in everywhere, in the cathedral, in cafeteria, in hospital, in everywhere. So the government start arrest me, but later on, in 2002, the government would recognize it only 4 churches: Catholic, Lutheran Evangelical Church, Orthodox, and Islam. But it's not true. Even the Patriarch Orthodox is still in prison more than 10 years. So after that, just I'm recording CD because the other activities are shut down. So I made one film with one singer. So the government start follow me because at that time I'm preaching young people underground. It's real underground. So they arrest me because of my CD. Because at that time the church is closed. So how you publish this? The film title is "The Cure for the World is the Gospel." So the government didn't like that, so they arrest me. So I stay in shipping metal container for 32 months. So, but now I'm here.
Tell us about your experience in prison and how did you overcome?
Yeah, it's not easy. Prison in Eritrea, you can call it hell on the earth because it's from bad to the worst. So I can't tell you everything what's happening because if I start to tell you, it's a huge, big book. But just I can mention how it is poor condition. First, when they put in us in this metal shipping container, it's not clean, it have no enough air, it have small window, just we get air from that. It's dark, there is no light. Also, there is no toilet. We are asking toilet, so they giving us one packet, just we can use it inside the container. So it's extremely cold in the night, extremely hot in the day. Even they don't allow you to clean yourself as a woman. So the prison condition was unbearable. It is very poor condition. They call it food, but it's kind of water. So when you eat this kind of food, just you get diarrhea. So when you get diarrhea, it's exposed for the others, it's the worst. So also they ask you always, they punish you, they ask you to carry stones. They have many kind of torture. At last they ask me to sign to deny my faith. So I grew up in church when I was 8 years, so which means for me it is what's happening here to deny Jesus. So just I'm saying I refuse. So they send me with one mental ill woman. She had been in the States for 23 years. I don't know why she's in a metal container. She's restless most of the time. Just she pull my hair, she beat me. I can't eat. When I start eating, just she start kicking the food, so I lose a lot of weight. So the guards start laughing at me. Maybe you are now 12 kilo. Just they are laughing at me, but I'm strong inside because God is always with me. Just I'm praying 3 times a day, 3 times in the night. We have no food, but always fasting inside the container because we can't change the situation, but I can't change inside just to learn myself discipline. Just I'm fasting most of the time inside the container. It's not allowed to read Bible, but God have ways. Always Bible is with me. Maybe you say, how this metal container? But if God create heaven and the earth, it's easy for him to give me Bible inside the container because he is the one creator. Our forefathers, they follow him, we follow him, just we don't afraid. I am not ashamed of the gospel. It's the power of God. So when I'm in container, in everywhere, I'm proclaim the gospel because he is powerful. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So I follow him until the last, until I'm finish my journey. So that was my goal. I can't say many things, sorry.
We will come back.
Yeah.
Tehmina, you've worked on the rights of those that are arrested and imprisoned in a different context than that of Eritrea. But in the context of India, you found it extremely important to use the law as a pathway of resistance, as a coping strategy against persecution. And you mobilized a great deal to bring down provisions of the freedom of religion law. Can you tell us more about that kind of advocacy through the legal pathway and its importance?
Sure. In India, we have in the Constitution under Article 25 the freedom of conscience and the right to practice, profess, and propagate your faith. So it's quite unusual that we should have that right, the right to propagate your faith also. And in spite of that constitutional provision, we have introduced in various parts or various provinces of India laws which we call the Freedom of Religion Acts. They're more commonly known as the anti-conversion laws, though. These laws require, each time that there is a religious conversion, that you should inform the district authorities of that conversion. The district authorities will then launch an inquiry into the religious conversion to see if it is by force, fraud, or allurement. Now, on the face of it, they seem to look like reasonable acts. You don't want anyone to be forced to convert. But the word force includes the threat of divine displeasure in the definition as per the law, which means that if I were to say, believe in Jesus and you will go to heaven, there is an inverse threat of divine displeasure in that. It's inherent in that. So you can't truly share the gospel, or the word inducement includes not only material benefits, but also gift or gratification of any kind. So believe in X, Y, Z and you will be healed could well fall under inducement. And we've had pastors who've been charged under this law because of that provision. And that's true for misrepresentation because of fraudulent means, because if you don't believe in XYZ and you are healed and you're not healed, then that's misrepresentation, and pastors have been charged under that also. So these laws are old laws. They have been around since 1967, 68. And we were able to challenge the law. We represented our clients in the northern part of India, in the state of Himachal Pradesh. We challenged the law and we got the provision struck down to the extent that you no longer need to intimate the district authorities that you want to convert to any particular religion. The law in Himachal Pradesh particularly did not require you to give information to the district authorities if you wanted to convert to your original religion. And in India, your original religion always means Hinduism. So it was, reconversions were not attracted, only conversions out of the original religion were being attracted. So we managed to get that struck down. But what was the impact of these laws is what we find that every religious conversion had become suspect across the country. So it doesn't matter whether these laws are in place in only these 6 provinces, but across India you see this language being used by district administrations where you need to check if the conversion is by force, fraud, or allurement. And that was something that we thought was a big victory, at least towards the propaganda that was going on against Christians, that these conversions are taking place. Because records, government statistics themselves seems to suggest that there has not been one single conviction under these laws. We have only had a lot of harassment. So every year you'll have 10, 15, 12 cases being registered against Christians under these laws, and years of prosecution, years of harassment, lots of lawyers' fees also to be paid out, but no convictions, thankfully. So this was something that we were able to do. And this is not something that only affects the Christian community. We have seen these laws being misused even against Muslims. If a Muslim boy marries a Hindu girl, that is seen as inducement, and we've had some cases under that also. So that was something that we were able to challenge. But there are several other similar provisions under Indian law which are very discriminatory, and we find increasingly that as we take these challenges to court, we are able to find the courts respond to this, and that's very encouraging. We'll be able to share more, I guess, in the next.
And on the theme of unjust laws, you led a major struggle against a law that you felt would affect the entire family and the intergenerational transfer of one's faith. And like Tehmina, you fought for these religious freedoms, not just for the Christians, although that was the primary group that was most made vulnerable, but also for the Muslims. And it also had to do with the right to freedom of faith. Can you tell us a bit about this?
Yes, it is continual struggle, this, because we have, in Iraq, we have many laws which date of 1959, and they are not changed. Even if there are other laws, this law is still the same. So the Article 21 in Civil Code, Iraqi Civil Code, Article 21.3, is so clear. It's an opposition of religious leaders, Muslim religious leaders, saying that it's obliged or obligatory the minors, children, become Muslims when one of the parents is Muslim or become Muslim. This law was better when it was in 59, was only if father. And it was amended for whereas in 72, father or mother. And now it's whereas, because they made it now Article 26 in the new law. They are preparing for what we call it now national card, which will gather all many different identities of Iraqis. And in this law, they just abolish all civil code, unless this article, which they took it from 21 to become 26, saying that minor children must be Islamized automatically when one of the parents is Muslim. So we were, as Christian, as NGOs, just aware of this and speaking without stopping. This kind of just attaching to importance to some laws, saying this is a Sharia, because when we made many efforts since 2012, Hammurabi Human Rights Organization, we made 2 big conferences to study this case and to present it. We presented to government, to High Court, etc. And everybody was saying, yes, you are right, there is inequality here, there is the inequality, and we have to correct this. When it was going to Majlis al-Shura, no, it's Quranic spirit. I was just, to say to Sunnah endowment representative in this conference, please, anything you would like to put your ideas like any religion man who can bring things to be a law. You put it on Quranic head. What is this for you? Where is written this like this in Quran? You believe in Quran like textually. This is not textually in Quran. Why you bring this from Quran? It is your interpretation. It is somebody who was maybe very fanatic against others, so he made this to finish off the others. That's one for non-Muslims. It's really a source of living country, a source of continual and legalized persecution. And we say it very highly in Baghdad, in all media. I say it every day. Second thing, it was very funny to see that Iraq guaranteed the freedom of religion. I said, okay, very good, nice title. Unless for Muslims. I said, so please, Muslims, they are human beings too. They have to have their freedom. They have to be free to decide also. So we will defend their rights to decide whatever they want to choose as religion. Why you put Iraq is in a sense saying all you non-Muslims, you have to be Muslims. Iraq guarantee the freedom of religion in Iraq. Any Iraqi can change his religion unless Muslims. I said to Majlis Shura, a representative, which is a woman. I was happy to meet her 1 week ago. And I told her, please help us change this, because you have an opinion, important opinion, you have to work on this. You are Muslim, I am sure you will be, you are thirsty of this freedom. Why you put all this in Sharia head when we can really do other things? You have possibility of creating laws. You are creating laws and you are saying this is Sharia. It's not Sharia, it's you do those laws and you say it's Sharia. It's right, Iraqi law is married, co-married with code of Napoleon, French code. But it's a question of not today work. Why today you are insisting as if you discover Islam now, and you would like to make people discovering Islam. This is a Daesh way of doing. So are we a state for Daesh or for people who are in Iraq? Or say just clearly, you non-Muslim, you have to leave, and we will be clear to say that we have no more country. So it's a question of really rebuilding a country, rebuilding capacities. We, as Hammurabi, we have in our heart very big love to bring those judges and those lawyers and lawmen to study what are the Iraqi duties in international level. We can in Iraq, and I think Iraq is the only country in Middle East who have this possibility. When a law or a convention, international convention, is voted by Iraq, is adopted, and is published in the official journal of Iraq, it becomes equal to law in Iraq, to internal law. So we can use this, but no many judges know this, no many lawyers know this to really make their work easier and possible. And as I said to this woman, in Iraq, when we go to the governmental post, instead to think that we are here for serving people, we think that we are here to really beat people and to be stronger and to show a power somewhere. It's false. So we can change this mentality of brutal laws, of brutal way of dealing with people using those international treaties. So please, after.
Just to build on that, we're moving from Iraq into Egypt, where you're dealing in a very different context, a context where the law would have very little effect if there wasn't an awareness. And in order to create an awareness, a community awareness, you needed to work with everyone on a community level. And you led an incredible struggle over several decades to try and create social change in the practice of female genital mutilation. Can you tell us a little bit about the struggle and how you worked from the local to the national to the local?
You know, it is very easy to destroy a building and not to destroy an idea in who man believes in. So it is, we are struggling in this big issue, and it is not related to religion, but it is a tradition. So Christians and Muslims practice FGM or female genital mutilation all over Egypt. And the percentage from 10 years ago was like 1998. And in Beni Suef, my area, it was 98, more than 98. We were struggling to convince people that's not from medicine, not from health, not from religion. And I'm working in cooperation with a Muslim organization. So I concern about the Christians and they are concerned about Muslims. But in many villages we are mixed. You cannot differentiate, or you can do meeting for only Christians. So they gather together. And we don't talk about religion, but we are talking, in these sessions, I'm not talking about you have to stop this tradition, but I give them what is the scientific facts about this tradition, and we discuss together why they do this tradition, why they practice, what is the benefit of this, and I will let them to think about it. I tell them, go and think about it. I'm not ordering you to do anything or to say, okay, today I'm going to stop. But go and think about it. We have many training sessions to see who are the positive deviants in the villages, who are against this tradition. And we ask them why you are not like the other community. And they tell us many, many stories. Sometimes it is miserable stories about girls dying in their hands because of bleeding, because of shock. Girls have different behavior after this practice, psychologically affected. And many mothers told us many, many stories. We collected more than 40 stories in one book, and we started to distribute it in the villages. This book was a very strong one. And I remember one of the health educators in the village came and said to me that I distributed this book in one of the houses, and the man was a strong Muslim. He doesn't want to be convinced and even to be think about this issue. So he took the book, he read it, and later his wife told him, give me the book so I can read it. And he said, no, and he put it in the fire. Because he doesn't want his wife to know what is in this book. Because of the many stories and many advices from the mothers in this book not to practice FGM again.